Welcome to CASACast with a special Pride edition. As we begin, CASA and our guests acknowledge and respect the Noongar people as the traditional custodians on the lands on which we host this episode. As students, CASA aims to uplift voices and collaborate with community during our studies and future careers. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and we acknowledge the diverse experience of queerness within the Indigenous communities. I am Knox, not Knock, current Secretary of CASA, and your host for this special edition of CASACast, the Built Queer Environment. In this episode, we delve into queerness and pride within architects and architecture, bringing a spotlight to our wonderful community and dispensing with thoughtful knowledge to take with you in your studies and work, and I have definitely prepared this well in advance. With me today is Willow McGuigan, current Treasurer of CASA, future Masters of Architecture student, and a vocal advocate for universal design. We have Stephanie Chavez. Alama Chavez. I really should have planned this better. But I did plan all of this. Award-winning graduate architect, recipient of the E.G. Cohen Medal 2023, winner of the One Day Challenge 2023, WA State winner of 2022 Super Studio, and the 2022 NAWIC Lend-Lease Scholarship, as well as an EmAGN Committee and Cohen Connect member, and a fierce international professional advocate.
Yes, thank you very much.
That one takes the longest.
What a resume.
I know. And then with us also fabulously here is Matthew McGivern, graduate architect, named Australian Design Review's 30 Under 30, co-founder of the Flaming Collective, and co-chair-elect of EmAGN WA chapter.
Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, glad to have everyone here. How is everyone enjoying the current Pride Month activities?
There's too much on.
Yeah.
We need to cut this. There's too much on. No more Pride events.
Just started yesterday and I already booked for the next 2 weeks, like every single day.
I've been a university student.
That says a lot, yes.
Yeah.
It's a job in its own, and I'm very thankful that you're all able to take some time off during this very busy and very fun month to spend some time with us. So we're going to delve right into one of our questions. What does pride in architecture mean to you?
Oh, I have the microphone. Okay, I will start. Pride in architecture, like I think it is the moment to really think about how it is your environment, like who is there, like diversity, inclusion. Are you using the right pronouns? Are you like respecting the people around you? I think it is a moment to say like what is happening around me more than, yes, celebration is amazing, but also it is a moment like to say like everyone is okay, everyone is having the time to really think about what is pride in architecture. I think that is for me pride these days.
I think it's just kind of in its name. Like you're able to have this pride in such a diverse community around you, and being able to identify how you want, and even though it's like not the best, but it could be better, I think there is still that community within it as well, like finding you guys and then finding other friends that I have within it. I think that's what pride is, just being able to identify as you want to within the architecture.
I love these little microphones. I feel so fancy. Pride in architecture is a tricky thing for me. I think it's twofold. It's the process of kind of understanding the exclusion in the industry. I think unfortunately the industry is, and I'm sorry to any of my colleagues, a little bit pale, male and stale. I know I fit about 66% of that, but I'll let you guess which 66%. So I think it's an opportunity to reflect on the industry and reflect on the organisation you're in, reflect on the university that you're in, and just say, are we being inclusive? And then I think it's also an opportunity to reflect on the practice of architecture and designing and say, are we designing in a way that's inclusive for others? Are we proud of what we're designing, and is the pride relating to us creating an inclusive and diverse experience. Yeah, that's what pride means for me. What about you, Will?
What does pride mean for me in architecture? I like that. It is good to keep passing it around to make sure someone starts new each time. For me, it's very similar to what you all have said in regards of it's being proud of the community you're in, understanding the diverseness of it, not just in the queerness, which, as anyone who's had a conversation with me, will revolve about 90% of the time, but like acknowledging that diversity is there in order to give that breadth of experience and perspective to challenge the norms in which we design. I do have a few questions about my pet peeves of current designs. Sorry, everyone in the community. I am available to be employed. And it is also an aspect of being able to talk and ask respectful questions. Generally, as you all know in our community, because we live in a bit of a bubble when we're around each other, we don't have to discuss too much about our own identities. When we talk about pronouns, it just goes on immediately and you adapt to it. When we're outside of our little pride bubble, it becomes a bit of a chore and it becomes a little bit of a challenge. And it's something I've been doing for like over a decade now, within my other jobs that I've had. But that's what it means for me, is being able to have that sort of bubble in a sphere where I don't have to always be on guard or always be the educator, the tutor. And speaking about pronouns, because while I introduced you, they would have already appeared on the screen, but would everyone like to quickly talk about themselves and their identity within the queer community? And I can start if you want. So I'm Will Knox. I'm a proud queer, gay, non-binary person, and I generally use the they, them pronouns.
I am a cisgender male, and I use he, him pronouns.
Yes, I'm queer, part of the queer community. I'm a pansexual female, and I use she and her.
I'm the same as Steph. I am a cis female and I use she and her, and I'm also pansexual.
Ooh, pan representation today.
Pan in the house.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go on to, yes, a little bit of our studies. Let's take you back a year, 2 years for you?
For both of us.
For both of us.
For both of us,
It's
I
been
think.
2 years.
Girl,
Oh my god.
It's-
2 years ago.
it's been a whirlwind. I think you must have been in second year when.
I was in second year. That was. Oh my god, time keeps flying. And I'll be graduating in 2 years as well as a graduate architect.
What a treat.
Part time, it's the way to go.
What a treat.
Well, that is a little bit of a thing. Architecture is also a long and involved course, and it's about 5 years on average for most people around the world. So that's a lot of time, especially if you come into university as 18, to grow and evolve as not just an architect, but as a student and human being. You discover a lot about yourselves. So I want to know, how did you navigate queerness during your studies or as you transitioned into the workplace?
For me personally, I had the opportunity to look at queer theory in architecture during my architectural thesis at Notre Dame. And that was a real opportunity to be a little bit unapologetic and take space and educate others on what queerness in architecture is. I was very much working it out as I went, but it just opened a bunch of dialogue with a bunch of heteronormative cisgender people that otherwise wouldn't have even entertained the topic. So it was an opportunity for me to kind of take ownership of my sexuality at that time and explore that. Moving into the workplace was quite different. I work for Woods Bagot Architects now, and I think working for a very large company has its own perks in that we have a pretty robust HR team, I'm sure, wherever they're based. And so, yeah, everything is quite clearly laid out before you start, that there's a system to things. So yeah, it's been a pretty good transition for me personally, but I'd love to hear others opinions.
Experience. I think for me it was a matter of I can clearly have three different stages in my like not transition in my life as a queer female person. It was like I really found myself like I was a queer person in Peru, in my university in Peru when I was studying, and I just had a relationship with a female person, and it was like in Peru is a very Catholic society. Like we couldn't say anything. Like we were together for years and years, 10 years, and nobody knew, no family, no friends, no anyone. And I think that it was for me quite like repressive in a way. When I came to Australia, I was like confused. I was sure that I was pansexual because I really think like okay, and also I have this theory, like I told it to my friends and everyone is like, for me, everyone is at least bisexual, just they haven't been exposed to the right experience. And it is that, like, for me, it was like, okay, I came to Australia, I study a lot, but at the same time, I start dating with multiple people, different, like, people I date, like, female, males, transgender, gays. It was nice. It was to know like it wasn't nothing that it was wrong, because in my culture, sadly, it is wrong to be gay, to be queer, to be lesbian or whatever. And after that transition, like going to my workplace, it was quite easy because I really found myself and I was sure about myself. And when I went to my workplace, the only queer person was Marco, that I think everyone knows him. And it was like, and we were talking one day as like a week after I arrived to workplace, and he was like, "Oh yes, do you have a boyfriend?" And I like, I don't have a boyfriend, but I don't have a girlfriend either. And he like, oh my God, another queer in the office. It was time. And after that, it was like so natural. Like we started hanging out and all of that. And I think that transition from being very scared of being myself, than now that I really feel open to say it out loud, is just amazing. And that was along my studies and my professional life.
I think I got pretty lucky. In the first year, I was just able to find my people. I think in our course, I'm a severe introvert, so it's kind of a bit of a character thing where I get adopted by extroverts, and then that just so happens to be the community that ends up being queer or very involved. Like Ella is very involved in queer spaces, and I think I got really lucky now that I am surrounded by those people and like women who are a lot like me who are also bisexual or pansexual, and I think that brings a lot of pride. And I think because I'm an introvert, it doesn't seem like I'm very proud of it because I don't talk of it much. But I'm just an introvert who's chronically single. And so I have nothing to talk about. And so, like, I think I know I am. And I was pretty open about it in high school as well because I wasn't very afraid of what people thought of me. And I'm very glad that my mum has brought me up that way. And I've been able to bring that confidence in my queerness into university as well. And I hope that me being comfortable in my queerness has been able to help my friends or some people around me as well, being able to talk and being able to have a little bit of a safe place where they know that I won't judge them or something like that, and know that even though I'm not talking about it, I'm more of a listener, and I'm like so happy to hear about those things. And I think, yeah, I just got really, really, really lucky that that is how university started for me. And I'm very, very grateful for that.
Oh, I love that. Because showing my age, first time I went to university was 15 years ago. So much older than most of you, and all of you, I think.
No.
33.
I'm 36.
Oh, you don't look it. Girl, I thought you were younger. But like 15 years ago, coming out in high school wasn't even an option for me. There was only one person out in high school, and that was unusual, and they were usually ridiculed or ostracized or at least othered. And so knowing that there's some sort of change now, 15 years later, that you're experiencing high school 4 years ago, right? But yeah, it's uplifting that there's been small improvements.
That's very. And something that, for example, I think about it, and I gave this advice sometimes, is like a lot of people is so scared of going out from the closet. And it's like, for me, it's like, you don't need to go out from the closet. You just be yourself and all of that. And also, it's like heterosexual, straight people, they don't like make a meeting especially to say, oh, everyone, I'm straight. No, it is something natural. Like why people feels that pressure to, I need to communicate to everyone, I need to tell my family and all. Tell the people that you feel comfortable with. Like I know there is a lot of pressure, but I think it is more natural if just you be yourself, don't be scared, give a little hints here and there. But in the end, it's like if people love you, they will accept you as you are. Doesn't matter what.
You should fill yourself, well, fill your life with love and fill yourself with love as well. So there is a concept in the queer community known as found family. For those who don't know, so you have your blood family, which is generally the family that you've grown up with, sometimes including also adoptive family, depending on your lingo. And these are the people who are there to bring you up, but they're not necessarily always there on your side. A found family is usually a family that you find that you have these strong bonds and connections with. And sometimes and I also think if you're lucky, your blood family will be your found family, but you generally also find people within the community. Speaking of Marco, for you, he would be a found family for you. How does that play in regards of how you think about architecture, of people building these communities, these families that aren't traditional in a sense?
Everyone comfortable? I think anyone who has studied architecture can relate to the concept of a found family. I always talk about my group of friends who I went through university with, who we're still very good friends now, as friendships forged in the fire. I think any relationships that you have with people where you suffer a communal traumatic experience, like architecture, crit day, blue carpet for those who are curtain people. You have this kind of mutual understanding of each other. You've seen each other at their worst. You've seen each other at their best. And they're people who get architecture. For the queer community, I would add to your definition of found family is it's people who understand queerness. They understand the struggle. They're the shoulders to cry on, to cry about the things that are big for you at the time, but other people who might be heteronormative might not understand. And I think it's the same in architecture. I think we can relate to that. When you pour your heart and soul into a project and you work all night and then you get absolutely annihilated the next morning after not sleeping. I think we've all been there. And yeah, it's definitely found family, architecture or queer is important for me personally.
I don't think I really have much to say on this just yet. I'm sure it will happen further into my degree and when I'm working in the industry and stuff as well. But my friends and I, some who are queer, we have AA, Architecture's Anonymous, for our architecture support group to get through the degree. And I think that jumps off of that your friends that you find within the degree is your support group, and sometimes that even includes people outside of the degree as well. And I think that architecture is just a whole, once your course gets and your year groups gets close enough, it's just a little big family compared to some other degrees sometimes. So just because of the hardness of it all.
My found family in architecture, I don't have much actually. I found my found close friends and all of that after the degree. In the degree, I have very good friends, and we spend a lot of time together, like traumatic nights, sleeping here, the computer center. But sadly, after we finished, like the communication didn't last longer. Everyone had their own life and all of that. Like I was part of the rowing club that helped me a lot. Like I think, like really close friends are from the rowing club for me. Like we are still together, and it's like they are very young. They are 22, 23, and I love them. I like feel a little bit like the mom sometimes, and we go together like all the time. And really, they are my family. But I found like really good friends after I finished architecture. Like when I was a graduate, like EmAGN, for example. Um, Matthew is like my boyfriend in EmAGN. Like Marco is my husband at work, and Marcus is my boyfriend in real life.
The only woman I've ever dated.
Yes, exactly. It is
You
weird.
have great taste.
And it's like that. I think in terms of along my degree, I didn't have like I have a strong connection with different people, but not really last longer. Just one friend, Cameron, that we are still in contact, and he used to live with me like for a little period of time. But yes, apart from that, sadly, we didn't keep contact much. Oh, we didn't keep contact much in terms of my whole group of friends.
What about your queer found family? Do you have a queer found family?
Not really. I don't think so. Um, no, I have Marco at work, but it's more like we are very close friends, and a queer family, no, really. Like my family is broader than that, and we are very different. I'm very like stray, probably some of them, like mostly all of them. I got Dimitris, that is my housemate. He is part of the community, but after that, like, I think 2 or 3 people. That's it from the queer community that are very close to me.
Well, found families can include straight people. It's always a long time honored aspect of allies, especially a lot of women who supported gay men throughout like the 90s, 60s, 50s. Not the best names given to them sometimes, but they wear it with pride. Can't say it because it's going to go on social media. Oh, it's a great word though. Yeah, that's lovely. Also, Willow, because we're sharing classes next semester. Yeah, you, me, Maya, we're going to be the queer fam of the masters.
We will be. Yay.
You don't get a choice in this. You're stuck with me. You've already spent a year in CASA with me. Okay, so this is a bit of a long one. So this year, the Australian Institute of Architects released a diversity and inclusion in the architectural profession report, which took a look at our community as a whole and understood and dissected it as much as it could within regards to marginalized groups or underrepresented groups. And throughout the report, the LGBTIQA plus community did have a bit of a mixed response. So it was very interesting to find that about 2/3 of our community felt that we could be ourselves, which would be living authentically within the workplace, which is really honestly a good outcome when you think about it. However, it still had about 1/3 of the respondents, and we don't know how much of it overlaps with the people who live authentically, did record instances of harassment, bullying, or even just a lack of cultural awareness within their workplace. So my question here is, what advice would you give to architectural employers in order to help them create a safer or more diverse workplace?
That is for us.
Yes.
I think one little step is thinking a little bit more about the pronouns. Sometimes, like, you go to your workplace and it's straight, like, oh, she, him. And it's like, maybe you can think a little bit more. Like, not everyone is he and she. I think that is a little step. I I cannot think any major, like I don't have any major concern with the working environment in general, but I think that people needs to be aware not only that um, people in the community needs their own space, like everyone, and sometimes in the work environment because it's a lot of pressure and all of that, like people tend to like close to themselves a lot, and sometimes we don't understand that, but we need to know that for the queer community sometimes we are over aware of everything, like we feel anxious, like double of the anxious that, and like we can be in normal environments. And I think at work it is important that to feel that we are accepted and also that they value our work as the work that we do, but also as we are. That is the most important, I think. Like just the work environment needs to make us feel that our value as a person and as a professional, it is good in terms of everything.
I definitely agree with that. I would say, depending on the type of person you are, sometimes you need to claim space if you have the confidence and ability to do so. And I know it's not for everyone, but I think sometimes you need to be vocal about what you need. And for me, when I kind of came into the workplace, there wasn't really anything major happening in terms of pride or inclusion. So I've kind of made it my agenda to educate and to share and to have everyone involved. And I think it's a bit of a we get a bit of a pride hangover in Perth, almost like the eastern states are really leading the charge for equity and inclusion in the workplace, and I think Little Lord Perth tries to do what we can to catch up, as try as we might. You know, sometimes it's not as good as it could be, but yeah, I would say you know, historically queer people have had to claim space because we've been put in spaces that weren't intended for us. So I would say claim space confidently and proudly, and say, no, I need you to recognise me, and I need you to recognise that there's other queer people in the workplace and we don't feel comfortable. So we're going to do this thing, whether you like it or not. Yeah, and sometimes you just have to do it. What about you? How do you navigate pride in the workplace and inclusion in the workplace?
How did I do it the first time?
One of many?
One of many. Well, so for fun, well, not even for fun, but I ended up becoming an ally facilitator trained by several very prominent people, Malcolm from UWA being one of them. So I ended up having to create these dialogues and trainings for my... It's very, very... for a lot of professors, not just the academic staff, so a lot of people who have these sort of expertise in areas where it just feels weird to talk to them about something assuming they don't understand. The more you understand academics, the more you know is that they're really good in that one area and they love to learn about everything else. But when I was a little baby gay, there were only 3 people at my old workplace, which was a university, that were out, and they were all in high-level positions. And they fought their way to be out in those positions. They made themselves invaluable, but it made it the appearance that they were the only ones there. And I got lucky. My boss had purple hair and studied psychology, so despite being a cisgendered straight woman, clocked me immediately. And
Queen.
I know, Kelly, if you're out there, still adore you. And because of her just talking about queerness to me, like dropping the court back when the court was actually a queer club, and She's actually the one that introduced me to Drag Race. She provided a very safe environment for me to go, okay, I know I'm queer and I know it's okay to talk about it. And because of her, I became out loud and incredibly vocal. And like the other 3 people I modeled my behaviors of, I became indispensable at work. So I felt less fear about any repercussions, which then led to a big culture shift of training people, training my bosses, and directors, and create a more inclusive environment. And because I was very vocal, and despite the fact that I'm also an introvert like Willow, I did a degree that forced me to learn how to be an extrovert. And so I was very outgoing at work, introducing myself to the new people, and eventually some people who've been there for a while came out very publicly, or at least people now knew that they had partners. The new people coming in felt that they could come out immediately. And suddenly my like little work directorate area, a quarter of us were queer. And it was this nice little family, which goes in the whole aspect of sometimes you just need to claim the space. And that was my experience. And ever since then, I've been very bold and queer in my assignments. I've been very, since first year, out that that's what I'm going for. I'm looking at designing for minority groups. It's how I got introduced to you, because when I went into the multi-residential unit, 2 of my straight academics, independent of each other, name dropped you and went, well, you're looking to do multi-generational queer housing for apartments. Take a look at what Matthew's done. We've just seen their work, and reached out and whatnot. So being that, and I don't think I'll ever stop being that, because being that bold, being that out, and not letting people push me back in, because there have been attempts, has just given me opportunities to meet with people around here. I consider you my mentor, and I feel sorry for you once I go into my thesis, because I am going to be asking your help a lot. But yeah, all of that stuff has just helped create community for me, create a safer space. I have had to stop assuming that people are queer, although I do like I assume everyone's bisexual. And then having other members of the committee come out to me and feeling comfortable to say that, even though you're already way comfortable before then, but having another queen with me, and having that go on and on and on, it's just been really nice, just making that space safe.
Yeah, I think if you have the ability to enter the workplace or any situation from the get-go as an openly proud person, it just eliminates any questions, any awkward conversations, and you can just kind of start off on the correct note. Yeah, I think it's a great strategy if you have the ability to.
And the privilege, which actually leads well into our next question, because the report did also show that gay men were the most comfortable and had the least amount of harassment at work. We found, well, not we, I wasn't part of the report. I'd love to be, hire me. I'm available at AIA.
I think that was the second career plug. See if we can get to 5.
Oh, definitely. But part of the report did show specifically queer women felt the need to mask. Masking is a process of acting in a way that isn't your inherent self. So hiding the fact that you are in a relationship with another woman, taking a look at your deportment, how you react, don't do that sort of stuff. A lot of queer women felt the need, according to the report, to mask, especially around clients, around consultants, especially those within construction, and potentially with other firms, because there was more harassment, more dismissiveness because they were a queer woman. And I think this report highlights that intersectionality of it. I am white. I've got an interest in family structure, but in the end, I am white. I'm very masculine, even as a non-binary person. I've got that privilege, same with you. It gives us a voice that people listen to. But taking a look at that cross-section of just being a woman, even culture, ability, and all that sort of stuff, that has impacted how people are able to advocate. So the question here is more about experiences. How has your experience with queerness intersected with your other identities within workplace or university? How has it made you feel uplifted, being able to advocate, or unfortunately possibly even being discriminated more? Has that been the experience for you too?
I mean, I definitely agree with the idea of intersectionality, and I think as a cisgender male who is white, I kind of sit at the top of the pecking order in terms of privilege, which is something that I'm not blind to. And And going to my previous points about, walking into a workplace and claiming space, that's again comes down to privilege and the fact that I feel like I can do that when I realize because of intersectionality and because of gender or race or religion or ability, a lot of people don't. So yeah, I'd love to hear.
Well, I have experience like in Peru, my home country, and here, definitely in Peru, I will never say that I'm a pansexual or part of the queer community, like when I was in the construction environment, because definitely I will feel like harassed and it's gonna be bad. It could be risky also for my security to say it. That's why I never like say it out loud when I was in Peru. Here I found like it is a better environment, but also a lot of people assume when you are a female, like just because you are female or you are an ally only, you are no queer. And it's like, and it is worse for me right now. For example, I got a partner that is a male, and it's like, oh yeah, you are an ally because you have a boyfriend. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. It's not like you have a boyfriend and automatically, oh, you are safe and you are not part of the queer community. It is not like that. And I think that is the prejudging thing. Like everyone is like, oh, you are female, oh, you are an ally only. Or oh, if you are not clearly with a female partner, it is like, oh, you are not really queer. I think that is the thing that for me is difficult to navigate.
And
Still.
those stereotypes as well. If you don't present as the stereotypical gay male or the stereotypical gay female,
Yeah.
then I don't know. It just confuses people.
Exactly. Yeah, and also like myself, like there are days that I'm like I could look more masculine if there is something like that in terms of clothes, because clothes doesn't have gender. Just to say it. Yes.
Preach.
You can. Yeah. Like, but yeah, sometimes it's like, oh, you look more like strong today. Another days like I go like dress, makeup, high heels, and all of that, and it's like, oh, that's different. Like things like that. But in general, I think people prejudge a lot females. If you don't look like in the queer like community, you don't look like, oh, very like probably masculine. It is like, oh, you are not really queer, and that is not right. Like just for let's forget about the idea of you need to look in certain way to be really a queer person in the queer community. How are you?
I think, yeah, that's definitely the same thing, and just it's heavy linked to misogyny and stuff like that. Like, I've been having a lot of videos come up about even just gay men being misogynistic to gay women and stuff like that, and then a lot of gay women recently talking about with the abortions and the election of with Trump getting back into office and stuff like that, and a lot of gay women talking about some of these online creators and influencers and gay men who voted for Trump and publicly would talk about it and just pointing them out that that is going against some sort of allyship that you have with your community and the people around you, and that it just shows that you do not have respect for how diverse the world is around you. And it's just the individualistic mindset of it's just me and not seeing that privilege that some people have. I think I'm a person as well who doesn't exactly look gay from the outside. I think in my school uniform I did because I dressed quite weirdly. I did my hair quite weirdly. And I think that kind of did set me out in high school, and that's what made my friends or some of the guys that I knew in high school just kind of know that there was something else going on, or like the music that I listened to was just a bit out of the stretch of what they're not used to, like the typical joke of listening to Girl in Red, like and I love Girl in Red, like
Who doesn't?
I will not lie, I was a big fan of Girl in Red, but like it's definitely like if you are not perceived that way visually or you don't talk about it enough, people will not going to know, and I'm fine with that. Like, I don't mind about that, but I don't like when people are in front of me and they're speaking about homophobic things, or they're being misogynistic or something like that, or they're, especially biphobia is really getting on my nerves lately with just as Steph talked about, like by women who are dating men and then assuming that they're still not queer because they're dating a man. And it's like,
Exactly.
what if their ex is a woman and they're with them for like 6 years or something? Like, I think it's a little bit insane, and it's one of my biggest pet peeves about the community and outside of the community as well, is that just people just assume and they don't listen to you when you say it, especially as a woman. And I think that just all comes back to just how women are treated in our society, and how we just got to fight hard with how the government is. But we're gotta fight hard to have a bit of a voice in the way we are perceived. And if I do have to embarrass myself on that journey, I am not afraid to do so. So, yeah.
Luckily, embarrassing yourself is very camp these days.
Yes.
I love what you said about visibility as well, because when it comes towards gender, being a non-binary person and been out for the past 15 years as non-binary, I understand that sort of aspect. It's with the sort of invisibility that you experience as bisexual and pansexual if you're not appearing queer enough, because there is this assumption that as a non-binary person you're presenting in a very specific way, and that's usually from the cisgendered community of being androgynous, where you can't tell what that person looks like. But obviously, as you can see, as I age, things change. And it's certain traits that people have more of an aspect towards masculinity than femininity, despite the fact that this happens to both sexes, no matter what. And growing this out as well, body hair. I found that it actually is a little bit part of misogyny in that aspect as well. I've seen online creators, non-binary creators, talk about how when people assumed that they were originally a woman, they were validated in their non-binary identity, but then found out that when they were assigned male at birth, suddenly, oh no, you're not non-binary enough. It's that sort of like aspect of, it's this weird sort of sexism that to be outside of the binary, you have to be a woman. And it's because they perceive anything that's not masculine as feminine no matter what, and androgyny is like that. And there's a very interesting study by, I think it's Jazz Bretnell from ANU, who took a look at the desired non-binary body for their honours studies. It's very, I think it's 2 years old now, and it's leading the research to go and have a more in-depth look into it. But it took a look at what non-binary people see as their body and appearance. And it was split half and half, kind of, with that. A lot of them wanted that androgyny. They wanted people to look at them and go, I have no idea what you are, and that gave them euphoria. While the other half, who didn't have that ability to do androgyny, their entire appearance was based on what I can do, what my body can do. They did body augmentations, tattoos, piercings, hair dye, but also a lot of them engaged in sports, gym, running, because they were amazed of whatever preconceived notions of their assigned gender, their body was able to go beyond that, grow strong, grow endurance. So it was a relationship with the body. It wasn't to do with appearance. Their appearance didn't dictate their identity. It's their experience. And that's kind of what you were all talking about, is your experience as a pan woman. It doesn't matter who your current partner is. It doesn't matter if you do end up having a new partner, or if you break up with one, or your history. It's the fact that you have that experience that people need to listen to. They need to go beyond what they see, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think as well, like with the looks and like masculinity and femininity that you're talking about, and that also affecting the community with women, like people sometimes would, even though I was dressing like in a dress or something like that, but then they would look at my muscles because I'd been pushing a wheelchair around for 2 years, and I'm like got broad shoulders, and because that's what was passed down to me genetic wise, and that's how my family looks. And people then make that assumption that you're like just a mask wearing a dress, and it's like, no.
Butch
I just have a dress on because I want to wear a dress, and I think, yeah, it's definitely the visual thing, and definitely that fight between masculine and feminine, and then the androgynous and all that sort of stuff.
I find that when you go beyond that, because like that's a perfect example. There's this assumption that just because you have short hair, you have to be a butch woman, and that masculinity. And there's also this assumption that if you're a butch woman, you're a top in the relationship, because it's considered more masculine. And it's those sort of aspects of toxicity that we kind of need to analyze as a community. Because just because someone is very femme or a lipstick doesn't mean that she's a pillow princess. She may be at the top. You don't know.
Maybe describe for the audience.
Oh, yes. Oh, do I have to describe what a pillow princess is? Okay.
It's maybe not suitable for the podcast,
It
but
may-
I'll let you decide the final letter.
Well, I would just say that in regards of a very basic, and I'm sorry for my fellow queer communities, we are going to keep this very introductory and not get flagged on YouTube. In this context, top usually refers to someone who is more masculine, assertive, the dominant one in the bedroom, and the bottom is usually the feminine, submissive. And as a queer community, we know that those terminologies are highly problematic, and we've moved way beyond that because
They're the stereotypes.
they are the stereotypes.
People kind of put it-
Pretty sure that's how Will and Grace explained it in like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But in this aspect, like being able to analyze that, like being non-binary, I did have that aspect of I didn't want any masculinity because I was taught you couldn't be non-binary if you had that. I have a better relationship with my masculinity, both appearance but also masculine traits, than I had back when I assumed I was cisgendered in high school. Like being able to digest and deconstruct that is what people need to do. They need to go beyond the surface. You all need to look inside yourselves and go, do I really want this? What is so positive about this? What's so toxic about this? And how can I improve myself as a person? Because you'll have a fun journey with that.
But also afford yourself the space to experiment. I don't think you can truly make a decision on something until you've tried it. And it sounds like through your experience of your queerness that you kind of determine this is what non-binary looks like for you and feels right for you, and it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
Same with queerness. All of my cisgender gay male friends, we all have very different experiences, and I think it's the same for anyone in the community.
I also do love the idea that if you experiment and it comes back to what you originally thought it was, that's still a beautiful journey. There's nothing wrong with questioning something and going, well, the answer wasn't what I thought. The answer was originally this. There's nothing wrong with that.
Life's about learning.
It is. Almost thought you said ballet. Oh. So, speaking of experiences creating spaces, carving them out for yourself, both of you, Steph and Matthew, you have been instrumental in the organisation of Perth's first Archiqueer Ball. Can you tell us about this event and how you've created it?
You take this one.
Oh, I can start this one. It was just an idea many months ago when we were for dinner with other friends, and we said like we should do something here in Perth. There is nothing. And yes, after that, Matthew and I, we were just like, let's do it. Just let's do it. I think the idea was always, let's do something. And after that, let's do something is like, let's make it big. Like big enough for everyone to come over. And I think after that, it was a lot of work.
I didn't tell you that.
We're exhausted now. But yes, I think it is a great opportunity. Like there were no anything like this here before. And I'm very glad with Matthew that he brought this idea and just the whole concept and everything. And it was like amazing. It is amazing to work with Matt. Like we are like so in touch every single day, sending message like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like we don't say hello. Sometimes it's like, "Oh, Steph, have you seen this?" Or Matthew, have you seen this? They're like, "Oh, morning, by the way," and it's like that. It's a lot of work, but I think it was necessary. We really need this here.
Yeah, the idea of the event was definitely born out of recognizing a gap in our local community where architecture felt very one-sided, and it felt like there wasn't really space for queer people. This was just my personal experience, but once I kind of started talking with Steph and others about it, they're like, yeah, why don't we do any, the Institute doesn't do anything for Pride, or, my workplace puts up we'll have a rainbow cupcake, and then that's what we do for Pride. And like, we need to do something more substantial. And it got us thinking, and we kind of caught up about it, and we're like, we need to claim some space. We need to like force ourselves into the community a bit more. Not we're both in the architecture community, but it felt like as queer people we weren't in the architecture community. And so this will be the first one, Archie Queers Ball. This is an institute event managed by the wonderful volunteer team at EmAGN. A huge group of volunteers who are aligned on this, and more than 30 volunteers who volunteer their time to bring events like this to life. But it'll be the first of its kind, 22nd of November, 8 p.m. Be there, get your tickets, super cheap for Sona, cheap for Institute, regular price is still cheap.
Regular price is cheap.
We're going to have drag shows, we're going to have circus, we're going to have burlesque,
We're gonna have food.
DJs,
I'm so
food,
excited
drink.
about the food.
The food's the most important part, of course.
Of course.
But yeah, thank you. We're very proud about it because it's been a huge amount of work. We didn't realize how difficult it would be to get off the ground, but we're almost there. It's next week, and we'll see you there.
Oh, I have already bought my ticket. I'm trying to
Fabulous.
get everyone else to as
Fabulous.
well. We will have a link in the YouTube description below, and for the Instagram reels, we'll have it in hopefully our LinkedIn tree. But you can go into the EmAGN link, not LinkedIn.
Just search Archie Queers,
That's it.
ARCHIQUERS. It'll be the first one on Google, and it is sold through the AIA, Australian Institute of Architects website, and it's organised by EmAGN WA.
It's going to be brilliant. I love the people who are attending, so go on and take a look. So I do love that this initiative has come up as well, and it's not the only initiative that's come up in Perth in regards to queer architecture. We've also got something called the Flaming Collective. One of the 4 co-founders are here with us right now. Would you like to tell us what the Flaming Collective is?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I don't mean this to be all about me.
I'm slowly bringing it to be about me.
Fabulous. Yeah, thank you. So the Flaming Collective is a all queer research group that researches queer theory and architecture. It started in 2022 and involves 4 members: myself, Dexter Wong, Grace Webster, and Sebastian Robinson, students of both Notre Dame and UWA. And all of our thesis projects kind of explore this idea of queer theory and architecture, or policy making, or queer histories, and how to design queer spaces. There was a little bit of research that kind of had already been done, but nothing that really kind of translates what that theory is into architecture. So we felt that there was a bit of an opportunity there to explore what that is. So we've had a lot of great opportunities to speak at the National Conference, Perth Design Week, too many other things. We would love to, the future of the Flaming Collective, it's a bit of a pipe dream, but we would love to turn the Flaming Collective into a queer cultural consultancy service, and we would love to offer research and organisational training and design consultancy, just to kind of shed a light on queer histories and design in an inclusive and diverse way. Watch this space.
Definitely. We've got 2 years to make that dream a reality, and then I can come in as a subcontractor.
Absolutely.
I do love this sort of initiative, though, because it has expanded what I want to do, because for my own thesis, I always wanted to touch into queer theory, and I didn't know the expanse that I could go in, and all 4 of you have done the similarity is the queerness, but seeing it expand into other areas has actually pushed my own scope, going, well, I could do this, but then seeing what you've done, it's like there's these areas missing. Why not go into that? And I just love that as sort of initiative and expansion. So I am keeping an eye on, and I recommend you all follow as well. Is there a social for Flaming Collective?
We
yet?
do have an Instagram. We're currently going through a bit of a rebrand, which is very
Ooh.
exciting. So shoot us a follow, the Flaming Collective, and yeah, hopefully we'll have some new information for you soon.
Love it. And speaking of big steps into the future, so this is for everyone again, what would your vision be for queerness in Perth's architecture community? I know, big one. Idealistic student, go ahead.
Oh gosh. I don't really know. I do want, as was mentioned at the start, I do want to see more universal spaces where people don't feel left out. I think, as we were talking about earlier, how clubs and events and stuff like that are excluding disabled people who cannot get around inaccessible spaces. And I hope to see queer spaces that are able to include everybody else that is a part of that isn't segregated by race or privilege or gender or something like that. And I understand that we do need to have certain spaces maybe just for queer men or queer women and stuff like that, because sometimes that is needed for safety and stuff like that. And you can see that through architectural history as well, and how some places have been built, which like brings me to one of my favorite buildings. I think it's in Chicago or something like that, of a queer couple who built their home with only 2 windows and this amazing mood lighting inside. I think it was during the 70s or 60s that it hid them away from people so they could, which is bad, but it meant that they were able to live in that area without people attacking them or peeping in and stuff like that. And I think looking back on the history and just creating these spaces, that means that it doesn't exclude a certain people or stuff like that. I hope to see that more in Perth.
Love that.
Yes, I fully agree with that. I really think that, yes, there are moments in life where we need these spaces to feel safe, definitely, but I'm just support a lot equity. Like, let's not segregate ourselves outside the community. Let's go there. Let's share spaces. Let's be all together. Like, apart from queerness and all of that, there are a lot of people that they come from different backgrounds. They are international students, international professionals, all of that. For me, it is more like not only to find a space for queer community. For me, it's like find spaces, safe spaces for everyone. Like, everyone needed in certain point of life. And I think the important bit of all this conversation, the conversation that we are having now about the queer communities as well, like I think many group of people will feel that related with the topic, not only like, even though if they are not part of the queer community, because they could feel that they are outside of the like standard type of community. Like, but for me it is like, let's go there, let's appropriate the space, like all together, we can make it together. And instead of making like, no, this is just only my space, only for us, it's exclusive, like let's have more spaces to all be together. Yes, but definitely I agree that there are moments that definitely you need a safe space, where to go. That's it.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Steph. I think I feel like there's a utopian vision for the queer community that there won't be, are you gay, are you straight, are you this, are you that. Everyone just is who they are. Everyone is a person, and everyone's respected and valued equally. And I think my utopian vision would be the same for architecture and for design and for spaces, and that we don't have to think about designing a space for neurodivergency. We don't have to think about designing for universal access. We don't have to think about designing safe spaces for people who have suffered through traumatic experiences. We just embed all of these practices in all of our buildings, irrespective of it. It's not legislated because it's common sense. It's just that is the utopian vision I feel for queer theory and design. But yeah, whether it's queer theory that guides it or whether it's something else. But yeah, I would love to see a future where we just design for everyone, irrespective of ability or age or gender or race or religion. Do you have a wish for?
I don't know, because my thesis topic is going to be looking into belonging and safety within queer communities, and I'm taking a look at places that have residual sleaze or anti-respectability, so stuff that goes against that's counterculture, and a lot of these places are like reclaimed or reformed buildings, places that were abandoned and discarded, and the ethos around it follows with what you're all saying. It's creating a place for a lot of punk culture leads this. And while we did have the conversation that because punk culture is fun and music is fantastic, but not all the places that they hold the venues at are great. Or apparently waved my hand around, met my step goal.
Hey.
Woo, I don't have to walk anymore. But yeah, a lot of the venues that the punk culture's places do reclaim necessarily aren't the most accessible. So it is understanding these spaces. Oh,
Testing.
testing. But with the bit that you're saying that we do need to find a place that sometimes like you do need to have that safer space. There's a phrase that I've been throwing around just to see how my academics would respond to it and some of my peers, and it's inclusion through exclusion. Because I want them to understand that when they think about universal access, they're not always looking at us or the diversity within us as well. They will design something and then we find out that there's no ramps or elevators because they are designing for inclusion, but they're never ever thinking about who they are excluding. So when I talk about inclusion through exclusion, you're actively going, okay, after I've made this floor plan or this section, who can't access this? Who is this servicing? Is it just for privileged people? Is it a very classist building? And I want people to have that sort of mindset where there's no point in designing for inclusion if you don't know who gets excluded. And it's very hard to understand who gets excluded when you're not part of that community. I have a lot of gaps in my knowledge, and but I also have a lot of my family structure is unusual. I am from a multiracial family despite being white. So I have that understanding of adoption, and I have that understanding of being adopted with half your family being people of color and understanding their culture, and then the discrimination that occurs within their culture, but then also the discrimination that they have that they don't realize, and the pure complexity of just being a human. And it's just being able to step back and go, okay, what can I think in order to just make this place better for someone who I've just found out can't use it. So in a long-winded way, exactly what you all said. I just wanted to sound smart.
I think about the ramps and the fact that the minimum is like 1:14, and I'm like, have you ever tried even walking up a 1:14 ramp, let alone wheeling yourself up a 1:14 ramp? Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I know that I as designers we're like, okay, we need a ramp. We don't have a lot of space, so we'll chuck in a 1:14.
And it's like,
Not thinking about how practical it is to use that. I can't speak from experience, but yeah, we just need to design in a more empathetic way and put ourselves in the shoes of all of the potential occupants. And yeah, design for best case.
Yeah.
Worst case. Worst case.
worse. Always the worst.
Yeah.
Worst scenario.
Worse to get the best case outcome.
Yeah.
That.
There we go. You said the correct one. So going into pet peeves of mine then, as I said, we'll quickly go through before we come to an end. As I've said before, I do like designing for minority communities, for queer households, particularly for polyamorous households as well, or non-nuclear families, because that's generally what I'm going to be living in. And housing in Australia is very nuclear 2.5 kids families.
2.5 kids.
2.5.
What's the half?
The half is sometimes people have 3, some people have 2.
Oh, okay. My apologies.
God, I'm showing my
This poor child.
I'm showing my age. That's what we were called. I was the half in the 90s. But a lot of the houses are being reduced into size. There's less living space for the family to exist separately from each other. They're all on top of each other. Bedrooms are getting smaller. Plot sizes are getting smaller, and it's a pet peeve of mine because when I'm looking for a future with my situationships, I guess is the best way to talk about
Many
them currently.
partners?
Not partners yet, maybe. You know what it's like.
It's complicated.
It's complicated. When you're not monogamous, it gets complicated fast. And when
It's
you
complicated even when you are monogamous.
Oh my god! And when you're studying
relationships are
architecture-
just complicated in
Oh, they
general.
are. But like, what's some aspects of housing that you would like to see changed in order to actually counter for the non-stereotypical community? It could also include like cultural background. One of my friends who's Kenyan, she's just like, I can't imagine not having a house that can't occupy my family when they visit. Like,
Yeah, this is something that I explored in my thesis. I think part of the solution, if we're talking like physical, tangible design outcomes, is spaces that are quite ambiguous. Spaces that don't really have a purpose or a need, but they can be filled and appropriated in whichever way the user needs. I think that's probably a good strategy, but I mean, there's probably many ways to do it.
I don't know. I'm quite empathetic with the situation it is here, but I come from a different background, and it's like you live in huge houses here. They're huge, and everyone is like, this is too small. If I don't have 4 bedrooms, I can't really live here. And it's like, girl, I used to live in a studio apartment with my sister and a cat. Just one space, 1 bathroom, and we were so happy. Like, just, I think, yes, I kind of relate with the drama behind office space and how to make it work, but I think it is one, like the user. What do you need? Definitely. What do you need? If you need 10 bedrooms because all your whole family, and I understand that because my family is like huge, and every time like we need more bedrooms because nephews, nieces, and all of that, we need to be together. Because family, if they come over, you need to receive them all in your house. And that's it. No, a hotel. No, that is so cold, clinical. No. Exactly. I understand, but I think it is a matter of what do you really need and what you can really afford. Area, like more bedrooms, more everything is like money, money, money. Not everyone can afford that nowadays. Yeah, exactly. And I think it is that, like the user. Who is gonna use the space? Maybe it could be just 2 bedrooms, but let's accommodate it in a different way. Like let's make the spaces, let's make the bathrooms, like separate the toilet in one side, the shower in other side, and let's have different little spaces to gather all together, but everyone can have their own space because definitely everyone needs their own space. But yes, I think I'm not the, the best person to talk about these things because I really think that small spaces can be beautiful.
it's a great perspective to have, though.
I agree so much with Steph. I think that's coming from the perspective of I grew up with very similar, like my family lived in a bus at one point and I was in a triple bunk with my sisters. And then I've shared a bed with them in like a house in the middle of nowhere. Like a shed house in the middle of a farm.
That's a new spatial typology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my like my family is also immigrant. Like my dad's side of the family is 10-pound poms. So it's so important to have your family with you to them and being able to have that space where you can just walk into the house and be like, hi. And that's the agreement that we had with my nan, is that you could walk into her house and you'll be welcomed, and if you needed a place to stay, you could stay there. And I think being able to accommodate that in our architecture is like really important. I think the one thing that comes to my mind is flexibility. and that diversity in our designs, like having houses that maybe could be connected together later on in life when your family maybe is coming over from the Philippines or something like that, and being able to create more space, or being able to build up more or something like that, with having, if you need more space or less space, and it's like retired people downsizing and stuff like that. And I think, yeah, we do have pretty big houses, but that is also coming from somebody who lived in a bus. So like, yeah,
How big was the bus?
it was an old Transperth bus.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was renovated for that. So
Your family are innovative.
Volvo, European.
yeah, I grew up renovating. Why do you think I'm doing architecture?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, we just need more.
houses.
Yeah.
You can have your YouTube
Yeah.
platform to share. How was it?
It was a little bit awkward because I was 9 years old and going through puberty.
Oh.
So I think, yes, there is also that you need to listen to the people around you as well, and it's all about the users of that space. And I think, yeah, I was a little bit uncomfortable when it got to puberty in the bus, but at the same time it was also wonderful because we could play outside all the time. Like, and we could meet so many people because we were living in a camping grounds, so many people would come along and always have children to play with. And I think that was also so important, like, to us as a family. So I think it just depends on the people. And I think, like, with polyamory and then monogamy and all that, it also depends on, like, what the space you want with it. And I think most architects hate the magazine houses, so
Yes.
so I think the nuclear houses, are annoying. They're annoying to university students trying to figure out who gets the master bedroom. Like, it's like, like if you're trying to have a roommate in one of that magazine design houses, it's hard. Like, I think, we just need to think about and have more options that are all around and more affordable and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would love to see a world where the project developer-driven home is, a super universal, super ambiguous, super flexible space. Why does it have to have a big master bedroom and ensuite and then 2 little bedrooms? Like, why can't it just be, equitable and flexible? And
Yeah. Like,
that's my fantasy.
with my person that we talk about, we're always talking about having 2 master bedrooms because sometimes we just need to be apart. But also sometimes his partner's going to come over and not going to want to be in the same bed with all of us. Also, name a house in Western Australia that can fit a king-size bed.
None of the project homes.
None of them. I did trick you all. You all answered how I wanted you to answer. The cost is actually also a very interesting one for me as well because it is outrageous now. So I was the opposite of you. I grew up in a 4-bedroom house that had 5 living spaces, a huge backyard with a pool. This is in Currumbine, back when it was becoming a developed neighborhood in 1991. That's when I was born. Wow. And the house was bought for $89,000. Well, the land was built and then the house was bought all for $89,000. And I recently, and that's what caused this pet peeve, I took a look. They renovated the house. Do not like it. But they sold the house for $900,000.
Yeah.
And it feels such luxury to something that when I grew up, we were so far away from everything. Like, we went to the country every weekend to visit friends and everything. And well, you've seen a country house. Like, if you're not living in the bus, you have just this huge, very traditional house with a very nice veranda around it. Like, we were so out of there. We weren't even considered really part of. We're like Mandurah. Oh, that's part of Perth now. That back in the 90s, I was surprised that Currumbine's part of Perth. Okay, and now that's considered close to the city, and it's luxurious, and the houses aren't really that great. Well, some of them are. But yeah, I love this perspective because it does ground me a bit in regards of, because my dad's side of the family, it's very much just like they come visit, you're hosting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
It's like that.
And it gets full fast. I remember sharing beds with my siblings when, extended family came to visit, because my brother wasn't allowed in his bed because he had the biggest bedroom out of us kids. So lucky. Okay, so wrapping up, thank you for all of that. So, what advice do you have for queer architecture students who are still exploring their identities at university?
I think university is the safe space to do that. I think you're in a very unique point in your life where you're surrounded by people who are forward thinking, you're around a lot of young people, and it's probably the safest time to explore that. I would say just go for it.
Yeah, I would say the same. Like, for me, it is just, you don't need to explain anything to anyone, really. You just be yourself, like, explore in a safe way. That is the thing as well. There are a lot of people there that it's gonna hurt you. That is sad, but it's the truth. But yes, explore yourself, go out. And yes, university is the best time. You are not as stressed and as busy as you are going to be in the working environment. You are stressed because of the units and assignments and all of that, but it's a different type of stress. It feels different. But
paid to be stressed.
exactly, you get paid for being stressed and be on the computer just, I need to finish this. At uni, it is like you yourself, okay, I need to finish this because I gonna just not pass this unit and I just gonna be stuck here another semester. But yes, I think university is the best moment to explore how you feel, and not only in like how you feel about your identity, about what do you really like which type of architecture do you like which type of thesis would you like to do, like it is the time to experience different types of things and maybe be a little bit more wild in what you want. Yes, that is a moment. I really think that don't stress much about like telling everyone like maybe I feel like this or I feel like that. Just be yourself, and people will love you anyway.
I guess as a bit more of an introverted perspective of somebody who doesn't really have the want or need to go out and explore, just take your time. Just like if it's overwhelming, just sit down and calm down if that's something for you, or go and do something that you want to go do, or if it's just you feel so rushed that you think you have to make a decision and you don't. And I think I made the decision pretty young that I'm pansexual, and I think that still took me time to do, but that's because I went through puberty early and everything in life hit me very early. So it was like I had that perspective to realize it very early. But it doesn't mean that, oh yes, I have to be like her. You don't have to be like me. You could be 52 and realize, I'm actually transgender. Like, it doesn't, there's no time limit, there's no thing, and your only time limit is before you die. So that's your only thing. As long as you're alive, I think that's the most important part of it, and it's that there's all the time in the world to realize with queerness and all that.
So, it is Pride Month and we're coming up towards the parade. So, what is everyone doing this Saturday?
Oh wow! Well, we start on Friday with the Queer Ball.
We'll see all of you at the queer ball as well.
Yes, please come over. Say hello. We love talking, as you know now. Yes, Friday, that Saturday parade, the court. I'm gonna be on the court. Are you gonna be on the court? You are gonna be.
No, I'm actually going to a house party. We're going to have a chill night for once.
Oh, that's good. How about you?
I don't know yet.
See,
You
you're allowed to
like-
make the decision later on in life.
Okay, yes, there are a lot of activities like to do events like networking, Pride, like as part of the Pride Fest. The Pride Fest is full of stuff, cool stuff to do, like sports, music, concerts, dancing, everything. Like I'm gonna be going around and about a lot.
Yes, I will also be at the Pride Ball on Friday night. Culmination of about 12 months' work, so very excited to be there. Saturday, I'll be at the Rechabite for some debauchery, I think. And then, obviously the parade. Even if you're not queer, even if you're just an ally, the parade is just, I think, a fabulous way to feel included in the community and connect with the community and support the queer people around you.
And just experience the broad spectrum that it is to be us. Yeah.
Queerness is messy
I love messy queers.
and fluid
And just a little bit strange.
and a bit sassy.
Oh,
Very.
I do apologize for my time as a committee member, and it's going to continue for next year as well. Sorry.
You heard it here first. Will's difficult to work with.
Oh, thank you for all of that. It was really fun, very knowledgeable, and it's great to see such a diverse perspective of what's going on. So thank you so much for coming to this very special Pride edition. Before we go and wrap up, is there any way for our followers to follow you and see your works, whether it's with EmAGN, Flaming Collective, or your own personal architecture portfolios?
Well, Will's just plugged me, so thank you, Will. I'm Matthew McGivern on Instagram. I am the Flaming Collective on Instagram. I am co-chair-elect for EmAGN WA, so you can see me at most of the EmAGN events. And that's probably about it for me.
Yeah, well, my name is Stephanie Alama. I'm on Instagram as well, Steph Alama Arc, but the arc is like we say it in Spanish, ARQ, no with CH.
I never understood that.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people is like, why is ARQ? And it's like, oh, it's architect, but in Spanish. And I created when I was in Peru. I'm sorry, not sorry.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yes, and you can find me maybe in 95 of the events happening in the architectural community. It's like I'm everywhere. I like to meet people. I just come over and say hello. I'm gonna be very happy to talk to anyone, and I feel very proud of being part of this family and community that is the architectural community. It's amazing.
I'm a bit quiet on social media. So there is currently a website portfolio in the works that I'll be posting on my LinkedIn just under Willow McGuigan.
Thank you all, and thank you all for attending. Thank you for coming in person. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Happy Pride!
Happy Pride.